the house at Thistlewood Hollow. It started with a letter. It arrived on a Tuesday, tucked between bills and grocery circulars, with no return address and written in elegant handwriting, almost calligraphy. Read. To Eleanor Kane, rightful heir of Thistlewood Hollow. Your presence is required immediately. Do not delay. The house will remember you. There was no signature. Only a faded wax seal with a symbol Eleanor didn't recognize. A twisted tree with a hollow heart. Eleanor, an archivist at the London Museum of Folklore, had no recollection of ever hearing about Thistlewood Hollow. Her parents had died in a car crash when she was 4. She'd been raised in foster care with no family ties she knew of. But curiosity, or something deeper, compelled her to go. The house stood 3 hours from London, hidden in a thick copse of willows and ivy-draped oaks, shrouded in a mist that made Eleanor question whether she was still in England. It was old, almost preternaturally so, but preserved as if it had defied time itself. Upon entering, she was greeted by silence. Not emptiness, but a silence that seemed to watch. The air smelled of cedarwood and parchment, and the shadows moved ever so slightly when she wasn't looking. The house, she thought, felt aware. She explored for hours, but every hallway curved into another like a spiral. Then just as dusk fell, she found it. A door with no knob, no hinges, just a perfect rectangle cut into the wall at the end of the third-floor corridor. And when she blinked, it was open. Inside, the room was circular. The floor was covered in a velvet carpet the color of dried blood. Candles flickered though there was no wind. On the far side stood a mirror taller than Eleanor herself, framed in black wood and etched with symbols she could almost understand. Her reflection didn't look back. That night, Eleanor dreamt of the house, not as it was but as it had been. Warm, lit by golden sunlight, filled with voices and music. She saw herself younger, laughing with a woman whose face she couldn't quite make out. The mirror glowed behind them, pulsing like a heartbeat. The next morning she discovered something even stranger. The house had changed. A hallway that had ended in a wall now opened into a vast library, where none had been before. The library had no windows, yet the books were pristine. Each shelf bore no titles, only symbols that shifted as she looked at them. She picked a volume at random. Its pages were blank, but as she held it, words began to form. The heir has returned. She must choose, memory or truth. Eleanor dropped the book. Behind her, a low whisper filled the air. We remember you, Elle. She turned. No one was there. But in the far corner, a small door creaked open. Beyond it, a spiral staircase led downward into darkness. A smell of lavender and old smoke wafted up. At the bottom of the stairs she found what could only be described as a mirror vault, hundreds of reflective surfaces, each shaped differently. Oval, square, even star-shaped. Some cracked, some glowing. And in each mirror, Eleanor saw a different version of herself. A child laughing. A woman screaming. An old woman reaching for something unseen. And one, just one, showed her as she was now staring back. But her reflection was smiling. She wasn't. In the days that followed, Eleanor pieced together fragments of knowledge from the house itself. The walls whispered if she listened long enough. Books answered questions she didn't ask aloud. The symbols began to make sense. A forgotten language of mirrors, memories and binding. Thistlewood Hollow had once been a sanctuary for the rememberers. Guardians of a magic that preserved human memory across generations. Not just facts or stories, but entire lived experiences. The mirror room was a portal, a device for carrying memory through time. The heir, Eleanor, had been born into this lineage, but her parents severed the bond when they fled. She hadn't been orphaned by accident. Her mother, a rememberer, had seen the darkness growing, the corruption of the mirror network. Some memories, when relived too many times, became twisted. Reflections grew teeth. Echoes turned into phantoms. And someone, had started using the mirrors not to remember but to feed. Eleanor's presence had awakened the house. The reflections had begun to hunger again. That night, the mirror in the circular room opened. Not like a door, more like a wound. A black void pulsed behind the glass. A voice called from within. Come and remember. Compelled, Eleanor reached out. And the mirror pulled her in. Eleanor fell or floated through darkness. Then light. Then memories not her own. She was a knight on a battlefield, bleeding. A midwife delivering a child in the snow. A queen weeping at her husband's grave. The mirror network had absorbed thousands of lives, and now Eleanor was all of them at once. At the center of this storm of selves stood a girl, her but not her. Dressed in red. Eyes too old. Smiling. You left us. You forgot. Now we remember for you. Eleanor understood. This was her mirror twin. The version of her that had stayed behind, that had been consumed by the memory echoes, that had grown powerful in isolation. She had a choice now. She could leave, sever the bond forever, close the mirrors and let all those lives be lost to time. Or she could stay, become a remember again, guard the network, risk being consumed herself. But then she saw it. A tiny, flickering light within the hollow tree at the center of this mirrored world. The first memory. Her mother's voice singing to her in the crib. Pure. Untouched. She took it in her hands. The mirror twin screamed. If you take it, you take everything. I don't want everything, Eleanor whispered. Just what's mine. She placed the memory inside her chest. And the mirrors shattered. Eleanor awoke in the house, or rather what was left of it. The mirrors were gone. The symbols faded. The rooms no longer shifted. But the library remained. Now each book bore a title. And Eleanor Kane, archivist of Thistlewood Hollow, began to write. Not to trap memories, but to remember them truthfully, one story at a time.